And here we go.
Moment of truth.
Uh-oh, that's not good.
Got a lot of failures here. We got a problem.
In 2012, James Cameron descended into the Mariana Trench, and for over a decade, the world accepted a simple story, that the crushing pressure caused a series of random technical failures. But his own belated confession, pieced together from years of cryptic interviews, reveals far more than a simple malfunction. It details a cold, systematic shutdown that disabled his sub piece by piece. What he experienced was not the chaos of a mechanical accident, but the chilling precision of a deliberate response. And as the truth of that silent encounter finally surfaces, it threatens to reveal not a new species, but a terrifying new rule about our planet, that some doors are not meant to be opened, and something in the deep is guarding them. The late confession. In the year 2012, the famous movie director James Cameron did something that no other person had ever done alone. He traveled in a very small and very special submarine, which is a type of vehicle called a submersible, all the way down to the deepest part of any ocean on our entire planet. This place is known as the Mariana Trench, a completely dark and freezing canyon of water that is almost 7 miles deep. A place where the weight of the ocean above is so powerful that it can crush thick steel as if it were an empty soda can. For more than a decade after his historic dive, the story that everyone in the world knew and accepted was very simple and very clear. People were told that because of the incredible, unimaginable pressure that exists so deep in the ocean, his state-of-the-art submersible experienced several serious technical problems. The official report said that some of his most important equipment stopped working correctly. And because of these dangerous failures, his mission on the ocean floor had to be cut short for his own safety. This seemed like a normal and perfectly believable explanation, because building a machine that can survive those conditions is one of the hardest things humans have ever tried to do. But James Cameron himself, after many years of saying very little about the details, started to reveal a different story, a much stranger and more unsettling one. He explained that the problems with his machine did not happen all at once in a chaotic and messy way, which is what you would expect from a random accident or a machine breaking under pressure. Instead, the failures happened one by one, in a very specific and chillingly logical order, almost as if something intelligent was carefully and deliberately turning things off. First, the robotic arm that he used to collect samples from the seafloor suddenly froze and stopped moving, which took away his ability to touch and interact with the world outside his window. A short time after that, some of the thrusters, which are the small engines that allow him to move the submersible around, went completely dead, leaving him trapped and unable to move from his spot. And then, in the most terrifying moment of the entire mission, the powerful lights on the outside of his machine all went dark at the same exact time, taking away his ability to see anything at all in the endless blackness. This was not chaos. This was organized. This was precise. And it felt like a message. For all this time, people have asked what strange creatures he might have seen in the dark. But they were asking the wrong question. The real question is not about what he saw, but about what he encountered. What kind of force could so methodically disable one of the most advanced machines ever built? And even more mysteriously, why did it then let him go? The man obsessed with perfection. To truly understand why the events at the bottom of the ocean are so strange, we must first understand the man who was inside the machine. Because James Cameron is not like other explorers. He is famous all over the world for making big movies like Titanic and Avatar. But his true passion has always been the deep ocean. And he is a man who needs to control every single detail to make sure everything is perfect. He is not the kind of person who just sits back and lets other people do the work for him. Instead, he is an engineer at heart. Someone who needs to know exactly how every piece of equipment works, why it works, and what could possibly make it fail. This obsession with detail and control is what made his movies so successful, and it is the exact same obsession that he brought to his deep-sea explorations. Before his dive to the Mariana Trench, he had already traveled down to the wreck of the real Titanic more than 30 times. Learning everything he could about how to survive in the crushing darkness, he spent 7 long years working with a team of the world's best engineers to design and build his submersible, which was called the Deep Sea Challenger. And he was involved in every single step. He personally checked the screws, he tested the wires, and he helped to develop the special foam that would protect the machine from the incredible pressure of the deep sea. His goal was very simple. He wanted to build a machine that was so strong and so reliable that the chance of a random accident was almost zero. He knew that in a place 7 miles deep, there are no second chances. So every single part had to work perfectly, every single time, without any question. This is why the story of random failures does not make any logical sense. For a man who spent years planning for every possible problem, the idea that many different and unrelated parts of his nearly perfect machine would all fail one after another is almost impossible to believe. It would be like a brand new car having its engine, its brakes, and its steering wheel all stop working at the same time for completely different reasons. This suggests that the problem was not coming from inside the machine, but from something else, an outside factor that he had never, and could never, have planned for. The impenetrable fortress. To understand the mystery even better, we need to look closer at the machine itself, the Deep Sea Challenger, because it was much more than just a strong submarine. It was designed to be an almost indestructible fortress, built not just to survive the pressure, but to survive its own failures. This is done using a very important idea in engineering called redundancy, which is a simple way of saying that you have backup systems for your backup systems. This means that for almost every important part of the submarine that kept James Cameron alive and working, there was a second part, or even a third part, ready to take over instantly if the first one failed. For example, there were 2 completely separate oxygen systems, each one capable of providing enough air for the entire trip. If one system had a leak or a problem, the other would keep him alive without any issue. The submarine also had multiple power sources, like having several different batteries for one flashlight. So, a failure in one battery would not make the entire submersible go dark. This is the most important part to understand. The robotic arm, the thrusters, and the lights were not all connected to the same single power source or the same single computer. They were designed to be independent, meaning they operated separately from each other. For all of them to fail, it means that there was not one single problem, but many different problems happening in different parts of the machine at almost the same time. This is so unlikely that it is almost impossible. It would be like the engine in your car stopping, the wheels falling off, and the radio breaking all in the same minute, with each problem having a completely separate and unrelated cause. The Deep Sea Challenger was built to survive the mindless, chaotic pressure of the deep ocean. It was a fortress designed to protect a man from nature itself. But no one, not even James Cameron, could design a machine to protect itself from something that acts with a purpose, something that seems to be thinking. And the first signs that something was watching him began long before he ever reached the bottom. The first signs. The journey down to the bottom of the Mariana Trench was a very long and very slow one, taking almost 2.5 hours to complete as the Deep Sea Challenger fell through miles of dark water. For the first part of the descent, everything worked exactly as it was designed to. The world outside James Cameron's small window changed from a bright, sunny blue to a deep, dark navy, and then finally to a perfect and complete blackness, where no sunlight has ever reached. Inside the capsule, the only sounds were the soft hum of the electronics and the quiet creaks of the metal as it adjusted to the growing pressure. But as he passed the depth of 8,000 meters, which is almost 5 miles straight down, the first strange thing happened. The digital compass, the instrument that tells him which direction he is facing, suddenly started spinning wildly for a few seconds before returning to normal. There was nothing around him in the empty water that should have caused such a strong magnetic disturbance. A little while later, another unexplainable event occurred. A sensor on the outside of the submarine, a tool that measures the temperature of the water, reported a sudden and impossible spike in heat. The water at that depth is near freezing, so a sudden burst of heat that lasted for only a moment made no scientific sense at all. At the time, these small events could have been seen as just minor electronic glitches, small problems in the very complex systems of the submarine, and it was easy to ignore them. But looking back now, they seem to form a pattern. It was not a pattern of a machine breaking down. It was more like a pattern of something outside, something unseen in the dark, carefully testing the submersible. It was like knocking on a door in different places to see how strong it is, or touching something gently to see how it reacts. These small tests were just a quiet way of announcing a presence. When James Cameron finally landed his machine on the soft, silent floor of the trench, this gentle period of exploration was over. The time for direct action had begun, stripped of every sense. As the deep-sea Challenger settled gently onto the fine, gray sediment of the ocean floor, James Cameron was finally in the most remote and unknown place on Earth. For a few brief moments, there was only a profound and perfect silence as he looked out the small window at the alien landscape, a world that had never seen sunlight. He prepared to begin his scientific mission, to collect samples and explore this new frontier. But as soon as he tried to activate the first piece of equipment, the strange events began, and they happened in a frighteningly organized way. He sent the command to move the submersible's robotic arm, the long arm on the outside of the machine that he used to pick up rocks and samples. Instead of moving, the arm remained completely still, frozen in place. The system reported a power failure to that specific part. And just like that, his ability to touch and interact with the world outside was taken away from him. He was disappointed, but he decided to continue exploring with his cameras. He then tried to use the thrusters, which are the small engines that pushed the submarine through the water, to move to a different location a few feet away. At that exact moment, one of the main sets of thrusters went silent, and the submarine could now only turn slowly in a circle. Unable to travel forward or backward, he was no longer an explorer who could move freely. He was now a prisoner, anchored to one single spot on the bottom of the world. The events were not random, because they were happening in a logical sequence. First, his hands were taken. Then, his feet were taken. He was being systematically disabled, stripped of his senses and abilities one by one. He was still safe inside his strong capsule, but he was completely powerless, able to do nothing but watch. He was left with only his eyes, his ability to see, and then, whatever was outside in the dark came for the last thing he had: the absolute night. Trapped in his small capsule, with no way to move and no way to touch the world outside, James Cameron was left with only one connection to the deep ocean: his ability to see. The deep-sea Challenger was equipped with a powerful set of external lights and high-definition cameras that sent a live picture to a screen right in front of him, allowing him to be the eyes for all of humanity in this hidden world. And then, in an instant, that was taken away too, with a single flicker. Every single light and every single camera on the outside of the submersible went completely dead at the exact same moment. The screen in front of him turned from a view of the alien seafloor to a wall of pure, empty blackness. He was now completely blind, floating in an abyss of total darkness 7 miles below the surface, in a silence so deep and so complete that he could hear his own heart beating. In that perfect, terrifying darkness, something profound happened. He did not see a creature, and he did not hear a sound, but he felt a presence. It was a feeling he described as a deep and powerful certainty that he was not alone, a feeling of another mind, something vast, ancient, and intelligent. That was now right there with him, just outside the metal walls of his capsule. This presence did not feel angry or threatening, but it felt overwhelmingly powerful, and it seemed to communicate a single, clear message directly to him without using any words. The message was simple: "You are not welcome here. You have gone far enough. It is time to leave." And just as suddenly as they had turned off, after a few minutes in that complete darkness, the lights flickered back on. The cameras started working again. The systems were coming back online. But James Cameron knew that this was not a problem that had fixed itself. This was permission being granted. He did not continue to explore. He immediately activated the systems to begin his long journey back to the surface. Because he understood he was not just a survivor of a technical failure, he was a messenger who had just been given his orders. The burden of the survivor. When James Cameron finally returned to the surface ship after his long journey back from the deep, the crew who helped him out of the capsule noticed that he was different. He was not celebrating his incredible achievement, he was not excited, and he was not smiling. Instead, he was extremely quiet and looked very pale, almost like a man who had seen something that had deeply shaken him. He had returned with a story that was impossible to tell, because he had no way to prove the most important part of it. The data recorders on the Deep-Sea Challenger, which are the computers that write down everything that happens during a mission, only showed a list of technical failures. The computers said that the robotic arm lost power, the thrusters had a malfunction, and the lights experienced a short circuit. There was no scientific data that could record the feeling of an intelligent presence or capture a silent message sent from the darkness. This created a very big problem for him. James Cameron is a man of science and engineering, and he knew that if he told the world the full story, no one would believe him. Scientists would say that the extreme pressure and the isolation had affected his mind, making him imagine things. Other people might think he was making up a fantastic story to get more attention for his dive, and his reputation as a serious explorer would be destroyed. So, he made a very difficult choice. He chose to remain silent about the most important part of his experience. He shared all of the scientific data. He talked about the strange little creatures he saw, and he described the incredible feeling of being at the bottom of the world. But he kept the truth about the systematic shutdown and the intelligent presence locked away as his own private secret. This secret became a heavy burden for him to carry. He was the only person on Earth who knew that we might not be alone in the way we think, that there could be a vast and ancient intelligence hidden deep within our own planet. He carried this heavy truth with him for many years, waiting for the right time to share what he truly believed happened, but a secret that big cannot be kept forever. And eventually, the time would come when he had to speak. Decoding the confession. Years after the dive, as James Cameron grew older, he began to speak more openly about his experience, not in one single confession, but in small pieces that he revealed in different interviews and talks. He never came out and directly said, "I was met by an alien intelligence," because he knew that sounded too fantastic. Instead, he used very careful and very specific words that, when put together, painted a clear picture of what he truly believed. He started talking about how the Mariana Trench was like a different world, operating under rules of physics and life that we do not yet understand. He mentioned feeling a sense of something ancient and aware in the deep, a feeling that went beyond normal science. In one interview, he described the experience not just as a journey, but as something that forced him to question the very nature of reality itself, making him wonder about our true place in the universe. When we connect these statements with the strange, systematic failures of his submarine, his true belief becomes clear. The truth he felt he needed to tell before he died was not that he saw a strange fish or a glowing rock. The truth was his strong conviction that there is a form of non-human intelligence, something deeply powerful and ancient, residing in the deepest parts of our own planet. He believes that this intelligence is aware of us, and that it is capable of interacting with our technology in very precise ways. The methodical shutdown of the deep-sea Challenger was not a series of accidents. It was a controlled and deliberate action. It was a demonstration of power. It was the deep ocean itself, or something within it, communicating in the only language a man of technology would understand. By taking control of his technology, the failures were the message. And that message leads to one last, chilling question. If this intelligence had the power to completely disable his machine at any moment, why did it let him live? Why did it allow him to return to the surface at all? The message from the abyss. The final piece of the puzzle is not about the power of the deep ocean, but about its intelligence. And the reason it let him go is the most important part of his entire story. James Cameron did not survive because he was lucky, and his machine did not magically fix itself. He was allowed to return to the surface for a very specific reason. Because he was no longer just an explorer. He was chosen to be a messenger. The intelligent presence in the deep did not want to destroy him, because destroying him would have left no one to tell the story. An empty, crushed submarine would just be another mystery, another unsolved accident. But a living survivor, a man with a story to tell, is something much more powerful. He was sent back to deliver a message, a silent warning from the deepest part of our world to the noisy, busy world on the surface. The message is a very old and very simple one, that there are some places that humans are not meant to go, and there are some forces in nature that we should not disturb. The systematic shutdown of his machine was a demonstration, a way for this ancient intelligence to show what it was capable of doing without causing any real harm. It was a warning shot. It was its way of saying, "We are aware of you. We know you are here. And this is a boundary you should not cross." The truth that James Cameron felt he had to confess before he died was not about a creature or a discovery. It was about a limit. It was about the limit of human exploration and the limit of our understanding. He went down to the deepest place on Earth, expecting to find nothing but rocks and darkness. But instead, he found a guardian. His incredible journey reminds us that the greatest mysteries might not be in the distant stars, but right here on our own planet, in silent, ancient places that are quietly waiting and watching.